So today we'll continue with the topic constructor. Before we move on to the programs, we'll first quickly see the some of the definitions and some of the important points related to constructor. So what is a constructor? Constructor is a function which is used to initialize class member variables. We create constructor to initialize the class member variables. And why do we require constructor? Because if in a class we initialize the variable there itself, then what will happen? Each object of the class will have the same value. Now, suppose we have a class called person and it has a mobile number variable, name variable, and we initialize it. So what will happen whenever we create the object, all the members will have the same value. That is why we do not initialize it there. Instead, we take the help of constructor function. Second important thing is that the name of the constructor should be same as that of the class name, and that too case sensitive. That means if person is written with P in capital, then the person function for constructor should be exactly same with P in capital. And constructor does not have any return type, not even void. Usually when we create function and it does not return any value, then we write it void. But in case of constructor, we do not even write void. There can be multiple constructor in a class. Constructor without any parameter is called default constructor, and one default constructor must be present in every class. Constructor with parameter is called parameterized constructor. Constructor is automatically invoked when the object is created. We do not call a function like, we do not call a constructor like we do in case of functions. Constructor is automatically called only once when the object is created. And constructor cannot be invoked like functions. When an object is created, the parameters are matched and the corresponding constructor gets invoked. Suppose there are three constructors. One constructor has one parameter, second constructor has two parameters, third constructor has three parameters. So when we create the object and if we can pass one parameter, then the first constructor will be called. There must be one constructor in each class, otherwise the compiler creates a default constructor. And the important thing is that constructor cannot be private. We cannot declare constructor as private. Now let us come to some examples. Now we have a program written here with a person class. We'll try to add a constructor in it. We already have an input info wherein the name, age, gender, etc. Taken from the user. Then we have display info. Then we have a vote which checks whether the person can vote or not. And then we have these objects. Now here in this class we are creating these objects, and this is the constructor. So in this program, although we have not created any constructor, but one constructor is automatically created if by the compiler if we do not create. So it is good practice that we should create the constructor. Now in this program we will add constructor. So what will we do? We'll write person, and then this is the default constructor. We do not want to give any default value, so we'll write it like that. And then we have a constructor which will take the name as first parameter, then it will take the address as second parameter, then it will take the gender as third parameter, and it will take integer age as the fourth parameter. And now these values will be assigned to the class member variables. So nm will be assigned to name, address will take the value from ad, gender will take the value from gen variable, and age will take the value from a. So now in this case, we have created for this class person, we have created two constructor. One is this is the default constructor, and this is the parameterized constructor. A constructor where we pass any parameter is called parameterized constructor, and constructor where we do not pass any value is called a default constructor. So we have created a parameterized constructor as well as a default constructor. Now, suppose in the main program, when we come to the main program, for voter one, we do not pass any value, so it will call the default constructor. For voter two, also we have, as of now, we have not passed any value. So let us make some changes. And here, we do not call the input info for these. Rather, we pass the value. So the first value, first person is Raj. Then its address is suppose Patna. Then his gender is suppose male. Then his age is suppose 45 years. Okay. Now the second person is suppose Shalini. Address is suppose Ranchi. This value is to be passed in double quotes as it is string type. Then the third value is gender. Suppose gender is female. Then we have age is suppose 50 years. So this is the second person. Now, in this program, we are not taking input with the help of input info function. Rather, we are passing the values directly to the object when we are creating the object. Now, what will happen when we run this program? First, it will check whether voter one can vote. So voter one is of age 45 years. So it will say, yes, Raj, you can vote. Shalini, you cannot vote. So let us try to run. And now you can see the output. Hello, Raj, you are 45 years old. You are eligible to vote. Hello, Shalini, you are 15 years old. You are not eligible to vote. So what is happening here? We are creating two objects and these values are getting assigned to these class member variables. These are the class member variables here. When we declare these variables, we do not initialize it here. If we write it here, Raj, then what will happen? Every object of this class will have the same value. That is not good practice. That is not practically okay also. That is why we do not initialize here. We initialize, these variables are initialized here. See, this is a variable name. We are initializing it here. Then we have a variable address. We are initializing it here. And where from this NM and AD and GEN is coming? This is coming from the main function where we are creating the object. Here, the value of NM is Raj, the value of AD is Patna, the value of Gen is male, the value of A is 45. This is coming through this constructor function and then it is getting initialized here. So this is how constructors are used in the program. Now suppose now see, here we are creating one more, suppose object, that is voter 3, and we do not pass any value, so it will call the default constructor. So in this case, the value of name, address, gender and age for this person, voter 3, is not initialized at all. So what will happen if we call voter 3 dot node? Then what will happen? It does not have any value. So maybe it will take the default value of age as 0 and then it may say that you cannot vote, but there is no name for this variable. So the message will not come properly. In this third case, we are not passing any value, but we are calling the vote function. So what will happen? If you see the vote function, it first displays the information. So the information name, etc., will have the null values, or age will have zero. And then if it check age is greater than 18, it will come false. So it will say you're not eligible to vote. Let us try to run this program. And now you can see the output. Hello null, because we have not, null means nothing. So since we have not passed any value, so it is giving null. You are 0 years old because age we have not assigned any value. And since age is 0 years, so it is saying that you are not eligible to vote. So in this case, what we should do now, what we have to do is we have to, in such situation where we do not pass any value, then in those situation, what we do, we take input from the user. Suppose we create an object and that object has no value passed at the time of creation through constructor. We have called the default value. So in those situations, we have to call a function to take the input from the user. So we'll call this function, and this will take name, address, gender, etc. from the user, and then it will properly run the program. So now if I run the program, so it is asking first for name. Suppose I'm giving the name of the third voter as Ramesh, address is suppose Delhi, gender is suppose male, and age is suppose 35 years. Now you can see what is happening. So first, it has taken input for the third user, because for the third user, we have not mentioned the default values from the constructor. Now, Raj is having value 45 years, so he can vote. Shalini is 15 years, so she cannot vote. And Ramesh is 35 years, so he can vote. So what is the rule? That if we create an object without passing any value, like in this case, in such situation, we have to call the input info function so that it takes input from the user. And in this situation where the value is already passed, then it is not required to uh, pass any, call this input info function. Now, there is one more case that we have to discuss. I'll show you here. So, yes. That is called the copy constructor. There is a copy constructor. A constructor used to copy an existing object to a new object is called copy constructor. How this is done and what it is, we'll see with an example. So we have already seen default constructor and parameterized constructor. The third type of constructor, and a very important one, is called copy constructor. A constructor used to copy an existing object to a new object is called copy constructor, and the parameter to copy constructor is an object of the class. So what does this mean? Let us take an example. Now suppose we have a voter 3 and voter 2. Now suppose we want to create one more object, maybe voter 4. And this voter 4 is a copy of voter 2. So we'll pass voter like this. Person voter 4, we are creating an object voter 4, and we are calling a constructor. And in this constructor, we are passing voter 2 as the parameter. That means voter 4 is the copy of voter 2. That means the name will be Shalini, and the address will be Rachi, the gender will be female, and age will be 15. So how do we create that? We'll come here, and now we'll create a copy constructor. So in this copy constructor, we take the object like this, and name is name address is the dot address, gender is voter, gender, age is voter. Now see what is happening. This is a copy construct. This is a copy constructor. This is a parameterized constructor. And then we have a default constructor. So these are the three types of constructor in Java. Now, the new object that is being created is the copy of an existing object. So that existing object is passed as parameter. In this case, this voter2 is basically this voter parameter is voter2. So voter2 name will be given to the new object's name. Voter2's address will be given to new address. Voter2's gender will be given to new voter's gender. Voter2 age will be given to new age. In this way, there will be a copy of the existing object. So voter4 will be a copy of voter2. How it is getting copied? It is getting copied through this constructor where we are passing the parameter voter2. If we pass voter instead of voter2, if we pass voter1, so voter4 will be a copy of voter1. So now suppose we are passing voter1 and in voter4. Let us see what is happening in case of voter4 dot vote. We just want to see how I'm commenting this because we are not interested in these lines. Voter 3. So in this voter1, we are printing voter1 dot vote and voter4 dot vote. Since voter1, voter4 is a copy of voter1, so same output will come in both these situations. Let us see. Now you can see, hello Raj, you are 45 years old. Hello Raj, you are 45 years old. We have called a vote function twice, one with voter1 and one with voter4, but we are getting the same output. Why? Because both the objects are copy of each other. So whenever we have to create a new object, which is a copy of any of the existing objects, then we take the help of the copy constructor. In this case, voter1 is getting copied to voter4. Now suppose I want voter4 to be a copy of voter2. So now what will happen if I print voter1 and voter4? Since voter4 is a copy of voter2, so it will print Shalini in the second case. Now you can see, hello Shalini. Voter4 is a copy of voter2 and voter2 is Shalini, so it is also printing Shalini. So what is happening here? Let us discuss once again. Copy constructor is used to copy an existing object to a new object, which is getting created. And when we create the copy constructor, then we pass then in this situation we pass the object as the parameter to the constructor, and that object is copied to the new object. So each variable of the existing object is copied into the new object. You can see here. Here we are passing this parameter as object. So what is happening here? Each parameter of the existing object, the name, the address, the gender, etc., are getting passed to the variable of the new object. In this way, we can use the copy constructor. So constructor we have discussed today. There is a default constructor, there is a parameterized constructor, and there is a copy constructor. Now, whenever we create an object, it is created in memory. Similarly, in many programs, we take the help of other resources like printer, or we create files. Files are created in hard disk. So variables are created in RAM memory, then files are created in hard disk, and there are many resources like like mouse or printer. Whenever we access those things in our program, at the end of the program, we have to release all those things. That is usually done with the help of destructor in many programming languages, like in C++. Also, we have a destructor function that is just opposite to the constructor. The constructor is used to initialize the variables which are required for a particular object, and destructor is used to free all those resources that have been taken from the system, like memory, like hard disk, etc. Whatever is used, it should be free, so that when we run another program, those resources can be used. In case of Java, we do not have a destructor function. All those resources are automatically released when the program gets over. And then there is one function called the finalize function. This finalize function is automatically called. We do not require to call this finalize function. There is one finalize function in Java which is automatically called, and this is used to free the resources that has been used by the object. Whenever we create object, we use some resources of the computer, like memory, like printer, like many other things. When we create file handling program, then we use the hard disk. So there is a finalize function in Java. We do not call this function. This function is automatically called, and this releases all the resources that have been used by the object. In Java, we don't have a destructor function. We have a finalize function which marks the object as over. It marks the object as over when the program ends. And when the function in which object is created ends, this function is invoked sometime later by the garbage collector. There is a garbage collector GC function. This GC function is automatically called when we end the program. Right now we have executed this program, and now this program has executed. So all those values are not required now, because the program has already executed and given the output. So what should happen? All those resources should get released, so that another program, if someone else run the program, those memory, those hard disks can be utilized. So in case of Java, we do not have to take care of all those things. It is done automatically with the help of a function that is called garbage collector, GC function. There is a predefined GC function that is invoked from time to time. Garbage collector is a function which is invoked from time to time to remove those objects from memory whose work is over. And this GC function calls internally the finalize function. So whenever we have to release some resources explicitly, then we can create this finalize function and take the help to release all those resources. Otherwise, what will happen? There is a ready-made garbage collector function which is invoked from time to time. After every time frame, it is called automatically. Suppose after every 5 minutes or 1 minute, it is called automatically to check whether there are some objects whose work is over, and if it has been using some resources, it is released so that those resources are free. This is a very important topic asked in many interviews in Java. When you say that, when you write in your resume that you have learned Java, then they ask what is a GC function or what is a garbage collector. So this one line is the answer of that question. Garbage collector is a function which is used from time to time to remove those objects from memory whose work is over. So this is what we have to discuss in case of constructor. We have discussed what is a constructor. Then we have discussed how we use constructor in program. First, we have discussed some very important points related to constructor. Then we have discussed copy constructor. Then we have discussed finalize and garbage collector. So this is what we have to remember in case of constructor. We'll move on to new topic in the coming session. You just go through these programs, try to run this program, try to understand the concept.